Hi, Saurabh. Cool. Uh, so let's start today's session. Just give me a sec, sharing my window, and yeah, should be visible. Visible, right? Okay. Okay. So what we have seen so far in the week two, these things, coroutines, yes, coroutines and flows and state flows and how state flow works. What is a cold flow? What is a hot flow? So these sort of things we have seen last time, right? So I think that's clear. So far we have covered Android basics, activities, broadcast, receivers, intents and services and bundles and launch modes and task and backstack as well as MVVM architecture and coroutines as well. Okay. So starting today, we are going to cover the compose, right? So as I mentioned, if you go and just see the course curriculum, तब मैंने बताया था, right? कि what we will do is we will jump to compose. So इतना cover हो गया अपना this one, right? So now we'll jump with the compose. And once the compose is finished, compose पूरा week चलेगा because I really want to cover whatever things I can cover. And then we'll see this DI with the hills and navigation in compose and those things. But okay, so let's start with the compose. Let's do one thing. Let's create a new module for this week and let's call it a week 3. Yes. Okay. It's not a com.example. It's a com.rajesh.com. Language is Kotlin, Nougat, Kotlin DSL, and then next. Okay, what we are going to do for the first time, so we are going to create the empty activity that has a compose logo. Okay, not the empty views activity, but rather empty activity for the compose. Let's click on next. Let's mark this as a launcher activity and let's finish. Let's see what changes we can observe in this module. Let it build. Hmm. Okay, done. Cool, nice. So week 3 is done, and this is the Kotlin things. So we can see some package structure is inherently different, right? You see there is this, if you compare with the week 1, then there was this main activity created for us, and then there was no other folder. But here we can see some UI.theme folder. It contains some files. What these files? This file says some colors. This says some themes. This says some types. We'll see later. And this is the main activity. And one subtle difference you will notice is in the XML, all of the activities extend the app compare activity. But in compose, you see it's extending the component activity, okay, not the app compare. One thing, what this guy is saying, someone should allow me to meeting, please. Is anyone blocking? I guess no. Um, let me just respond to this guy. Can anyone send this guy a meeting link, man? I think you folks can access, right? Yes. Thanks. Someone sent SSR. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So if we remove the H to H, what is this? Maybe अगर time मिले तो I'll explain what is H to H, but let's just remove it. Okay. So you see some set content is there and these things is entirely not there. This is what we are used to with Android development, set content view. It's not there. Some code is written and blah, blah, blah. Plus XML file is not there. r.layout.xml, right? So what's there? Let's see in the layout folder. Here we have a layout folder. Oh my God, we don't have a layout folder at all. So Compose does not need layout. That is the first things we can confirm, right? See, in XML, we have layout folder. Compose project does not have the layout folder. So, which is something you don't need it. Okay. So it because in Compose you build the UI with a pure Kotlin code. You don't need XML. You don't need UI elements. You build the UI with a pure Kotlin. Okay, we'll see these things later. Map is there, values are there, drawables are there. Rest all of the things are there except the layout because we don't need XML layouts in a Compose. Okay, okay. So this is the basic structure. And if you see the build files, you see we are using the Compose compiler plugin as well. ठीक है इसकी एक बैक स्टोरी बाद में but let's just understand कि we have a compose compiler plugin as a part of a module level plugin. Just remind me about the story of this plugin later. Okay, and build feature, for the build feature you need to add compose equal to true, so studio can recognize that okay, this is a compose project. You need to use compose libraries, for example, to add a Compose support in Android activity. You need to add a Android X.activity and activity compose artifact. Another thing is there is some platform is written and there is a bomb is written. So we are using a bomb version. Anyone is familiar what is a bomb way of declaring dependency? BOM bomb. It's a Apache Maven concept. किसी को idea है? हाँ. What is the bomb way of declaring the dependencies?
It's a kind of group of packages.
It's this kind of group of packages. Yes, cool. Thank you. Sanjeev, yes. Sanjeev, I think you have raised the hand, man. Oh, was
Sorry,
it
I
by?
clicked by mistake.
Okay, okay. Cool. ठीक है. तो Firebase में you may have seen, right? Those who have worked with the Firebase, you have seen this platform thing. जिसने Firebase के साथ काम किया है, they should recognize these things. So what is this BOM way of declaring dependency? So it's a actually Maven concept. Maven is a build tool, right? So let me start the drawing. So it's a Maven concept, and let me clear this out. I'll just export it in case you need these things. I'll just export it and then clear it out. Okay. So let's say you have a four dependency. For example, compose UI, compose say runtime, and say and this foundation, and what else? Animation. Okay. Let's say you have four dependencies. What you want is you need to you want to declare these dependencies in your build file. Now what happens is each of these dependency come with its own version, right? For example, you see this core KTX come with this version that is a 1.15.0. Okay. Similarly, this JUnit library comes with this version 4.30.2. Now what happens is, let's say this compose UI version is a 1.0.1, sorry, 1.0.1, 1.0.1, same things, iska hai 1.0.2, and say iska hai 1.0.2, similar things. Let's say you have declared all of these four dependencies with these things. Now let's say you have some interns who don't care at all about your projects, and they will be like, okay, let's there is a new update available on the animation, so let's upgrade it. Okay, so what they do is they upgrade it to 1.3 sorry 1.0.3. Now what will happen is, let's say this dependency version, I see it's not about the compose, it's about the Maven bomb. So what I'm explaining is a Maven bomb. Okay, So let's say they upgrade the dependency to animation dependency to 1.0.3 and the thing starts breaking because it contains some APIs that does not work well with other versions. So your project will fail. Okay. So as a developer, you don't know which of these versions are compatible with each other. Or to say it simply, you don't want to know which of these versions are compatible with each other. So what you can do is can you can tell the developers, the library developers, in our case it's a compose. You can tell them ki, hey, do you have any way where what you do is you just tell me one version number, for example 1.0.0. This version number should contain all the libraries with compatible versions. I don't care which of these versions are included into this version. But what I want is I want all of these libraries to work independently. When I upgrade this version 1.0.1 to say 2.0.0, then internally you can upgrade this version to say 4 or 3 and whatever. But you guarantee you at least to provide the guarantee that okay, all of this version included into this pack, this bundle is compatible with each other. Okay, so that's the concept of the Apache Maven BOM, Bill of Material. It's known as a Bill of Material. So Bill of Material में क्या होता है? You define one version and this version will pull. You still need to define the dependency, but the version for the dependency will be pulled from the bom.xml file. Okay, that file contains the version for each dependency. So that's what is happening here. If you go and see this file, this is a compose BOM, right? So what is the BOM version? It's a 25, 1, and 0. So that means basically it's a day y. Okay. So this release is released in for the compose. It's released in a Jan 2025. Okay. If you want to know more about this compose BOM, you can just go and search use bill of materials. Okay. I'll just share this link as well. And
Hello, Rajesh. Please maximize the zoom in to 125%, please.
okay.
Cool, cool,
So,
cool.
this is the BAM, and if you want to see which version this exit contains, you can go to the BOM to library mapping. So, for example, this release that is this one that we are using for the animation, it contains 1.7.6, and for the say foundation, it contains this version. For the material 3, it contains this. So basically, it will contain all the libraries that are compatible with each other. Make sense? This BOM concept is clear before we jump into the
Hello, Rajesh.
compose.
I have a question. A minute.
Hello.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Okay.
Can you go back to where you are searching bomb? Yeah, here. Scroll down to where they're showing the version. No, not here. Okay, we will come back here. I wanted where you had Googled bomb, bill of materials. Where you are
Below.
showing the version. Not here. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Where you are Googling in the Google. Go back to Google. Yeah, can you search where they're showing the dependencies?
This one.
No, not that one. Go down. There's a place where there's a snippet of a code of the bomb to be used.
Okay.
Just scroll down. Yeah, here. I was asking. Hello.
Okay. Yes, please continue.
The manner in which you import dependencies, I usually don't see you importing like you can copy this value compose bomb all the way to Android test implementation compose bomb, and you go and fix it in your Gradle files. I see you use a different manner, like
What
the way you bring it here.
what you want me to do? Copy this.
No, not the entire. It's like from value compose bomb all the way to Android test implementation. You can copy it, then you go and put it in your Gradle. or else
Okay, it's already
maybe
here.
maybe. No, like I wanted to know.
Hmm.
My question is, why don't you like import the you get it straight from there and come and add it to your dependencies? Me, the way in which I know I usually use my dependencies, I go and search it in the Google Developers Docs, then I come and imprint it there. Or else, let me open Android Studio project that I have, then I shall show it to you. I think you can continue. Then I'll show it to you later. Then you tell me where my difference and your difference is.
I was not able to understand what was the things you were trying to
Okay,
say.
let me show you with a live example. Then you'll understand me. You just continue.
Okay. Arjun, yes, you raised the hand.
I think he's talking about the TOML file, like you showed us earlier, right? Like
This
we
one.
put the dependency here and yeah, it will auto generate here like that.
Okay. So
Maybe it was the question Sam was asking, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Let my
we are
Android Studio open, then I'll show it to you later on. Because I've never understood this point where you use leads version dot storm. Me, I don't usually use it, so it is somehow new to me,
Yeah.
and it confuses me sometimes.
You did you get the question, Rajesh?
no,
Okay,
we
just
So
have
wait,
a
just wait.
generally,
we
generally we
Android
use
is
the
open.
dependency directly from the Google. Like we just copy
Yeah,
it and
that is
paste it
what
to
I did.
build. And
okay.
yeah, so now you're using a shorter version like this. You showed us like if you alter enter and it will convert. It won't
Okay.
show you. Yeah, it will show you like this. The full version of this. Yeah. So he means to say that. Yes.
Yes, so you can just paste it and it suggests to replace with the version catalog. So you can just go there if you want. Was this a question? I think Sam needs to write something, man. I was not able to understand. Maybe the
Just wait
voice is broken
when
for
my Android
me.
Studio is open. When my Android
Okay,
Studio is open, I will show it to you. Just continue.
okay. Take a will see that. So this was a bomb. Maybe oh man, we spent a whole lot of time, which I was not intended to do. Okay, so this was a bomb, and the bomb is ready. So we have a compose dependency. So what exactly is a compose? Uh, So Compose is a modern toolkit for building Android UIs, user interface. It allows to create UI using a declarative programming model, which means that they describe the desired state of the UI rather than specifying how to create it. A pure theoretical definition, right? I don't like this. So this is a different from traditional way of building Android user interface, which uses XML layout files. So historically, we used to build the layouts with the XMLs, right? I've just shown you here. We used to build the XML UI with the XMLs, and then we were connecting it with the Java code. So I wanted to cover a bit history on the Compose as well, but since I think we are spending a whole lot of time on other things, I'll just keep it. Uh, okay. So it's an XML. This is the XML things, and we used to connect it with Java. Okay, so now inspired from the React Native, the Compose team started building the similar component-based development for the Android, and then the Compose was born in around I think 2020 or 2021. So since then, Compose has progressed a whole lot of steps, or I would say major steps, and it's now the official recommended solutions to build the UI in Android. So how does it differ from the Android? XML based development, you need to write the layout files and then connect them with the Java or Kotlin code, whatever, and systems will create the UI based on these files. But with the Compose, you just need to start writing the code using the Kotlin. Okay, basically, you there is no layout file, there is no XMLs, so you can just start writing the code with the Kotlins. Now, let's see what exactly is a compose? So compose is more than UI. This is the one thing that many people misunderstands. I would say a whole lot of people just see the compose as a UI, because I'll tell you one example. When I wrote a post on the LinkedIn, uh, that how we are using compose in a view models. Okay, I mean, if you don't know the compose for now, don't worry. I wrote a post key how we are using a compose in a view models, which definitely we are not going to see in this course, because this is a bit advanced course. I mean, this is a bit advanced topic. So I wrote key how we are using the compose in um, what to say, view models. Yes, so I got up many of the suggestions. Hey, you are violating the MVVM, you don't know the MVVM at all. Even one author who wrote the books Clean Architectures commented out, oh, this looks messy, and it's like you are violating the runtime. So I had to explain key, and by referencing the source key, compose is a more than a UI. These things, this foundation, UI and material. Only these things are about the UI. These two things you see, compiler and runtime, these things are a purely nodes of a tree. Okay, it has nothing to do with the UI. So compose is a combination of a 7 libraries within. It's a more than 7, but these are the mainly 7 libraries. Okay, so compose is not just one library, 7 libraries. The first is compiler. It's a, what is it is? It's a compiler plugin. Compiler plugin, all of you know. What is a Kotlin compiler plugin? Anyone has any idea what is a compiler plugin? देखा है कहीं पे ट्राई किया है? Anyone tried? No, nobody knows about compiler plugins. At least what it what is it? Nice. Okay. Am I audible, right? Okay. ठीक है. So it's there is one library called Compose compiler. It's a Kotlin compiler plugins that basically transform the functions written using @ annotations. There is this thing, another library called a runtime. Runtime is a heart of the Compose. So it provides the core runtime and the stat management. Stats is something that every component-based system has. React or Flutter or Compose. All of these are declarative React component-based UI frameworks, right? So they have stats. The third is a foundation. It provides the basic building blocks for UI. The fourth is UI. It contains the UI related things like layout, components, drawing, and those things. Then there are two variations of the material and material 3. The material library does provides composable, ready to use composable that follows material 2 design principles. Okay. The next is a material 3. So this library provides ready to use components that is based on the material 3 library. And those, if someone of you don't know, material 3 is a latest evolution of a material 2. Okay. So starting with Android 12, Google is pushing the use of the material 3 or M3. And there is another library called Compose Animation. So it provides a set of tools for building animations in Compose. Okay. So let's start with the very basics. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll see some ready to use the composable functions. So I'll do one thing. I'll just create a new file here. A new file. There it is. Yes. Day 1. Probably let's create a new package day 1. And let's create a new file, Kotlin file day 1. Okay. So in the XML, if you want to say you want to add a text. Okay. So how do you do that? You want to add a text element. Okay. How do you do that? You just include this text view, right? It's a class, and you include this text view class in activity, your activity, so that things will be visible to you, right? What is this palette? Yeah, this thing is visible to. Q. Just give me a sec. Okay, this is count and this is a text view, right? So we use these things to just see the text view. Okay, in a compose, how do you add a text? Okay, so the first thing is how do you write your first composable? So to write your first composable, what you need to do is, since there is no XML and there is no layouts, you need to describe your UI using the Kotlin. Earlier, we were describing the UI using the XML. Now we need to describe the UI using Kotlin. How do you do that? Let's create a simple function. Let's call it my first composable. Okay, in a compose, you describe your UI using Kotlin functions. Okay, let's see how does it work. So if you use a text view, you will be able to see the text view in the XML, right? So similarly, in a compose, there is this folder function, this function is called a text. Okay, coming from one second, coming from material3 library. Okay, because I am using the material3. Okay, I'm using the material3 version for a compose. Android x.compose.material3. If I use material2, then it will provide me these things from the material2, M2. Okay, so I need to call these functions called a text, and it takes multiple parameters. It takes a text, it takes a modifier, it takes colors, it takes the font size and whole lot of things. Let's just pass a text for now. Let's say text equal to my first text in compose. You see something like this. Now what happens is it gives an error. What it says that @composable invocation can only happen from the context of a composable function. What does it mean? This text is a composable function. This text is a composable function. So you can only call a composable function from other composable function. Okay, just like a suspend modifier, right? You can only call the suspend function from coroutine scope or another suspending function. So similarly, you can only call a composable function from another composable function. So what does it say? This composable says these lines will tell the compiler that, hey, some UI is being, to keep it simple, it will say that, hey, some UI is, some compose UI, this function is rendering some compose UI. Okay, it's not a regular function. It's rendering some that compose does provides. Okay, similarly, the suspend will say to compiler that, okay, these functions can be suspended and resumed, which we discussed in the coroutine session, right? Similarly, this @composable, when the application will compile and this plugin will process all the composables, these annotations will tell the plugin that, okay, this function is something that can produce some UI in the compose. Okay. Now we wrote our first composable. Okay. How do you see? Because in XML, as soon as you write it, you see on the preview panel, right? You see how, like, this is the one thing. How do we see this in a compose? So you have multiple ways. Either you can deploy it directly to the device, or if you just want to preview it, how does it looks like? Just like this. It's a preview, right? So to create a preview, what you need to do? You need to create another function. For example, let's call it a my composable preview. And here what I will do is I will just call this function. Now again, this is a composable function. So I need to mark this function as a composable as well. Plus, I want to use this function as a preview function. So I will add at the red preview annotation. Okay, coming from the UI tooling preview. Now what I do is I open this, split this to preview pane. Okay, and let's build and refresh. It should show me the preview. Like, how does these things looks like? Awesome, right? You can see it showing me the preview, my first text in a compose, right? The one thing you will notice is in XML we were using the view groups like constraint layout and those things, right? And in the compose we just wrote the text and this text is visible. Let's say I want to change its color. So I would say color equal to color dot, let me just add it, color dot white. One sec. This is an ID issue. Color dot white. Yes. So it's a now my preview says it's a white, right? So this is how we created our first composable in a Kotlin. What do you do? Two things to note. Composable can only be called from another composable. And if you want to see it's a preview, you need to create another composable function that just call them, and you need to add at the red preview annotation. This will make it visible. Okay. Because if I remove this, say, this won't be visible because it's not a preview. This is a preview. So I can see how does it looks like. Okay. And there are a few composables that you can see text and buttons and those things, but so this is how you create your first composable. I'll come to the question. One second. Now let's say we want to add a button. Okay. Something like this. How do we add a button? Again, we have a composable called a button. Okay. So this button is what? This button takes some on-click parameter, some modifier is again visible here. It was there in the text as well, right? And it takes some things. And it takes some content lambda. What is this? We'll see. But let's say I do something like this, on click equal to this. Let's see what it does. Yeah, it showed me some button, right? It showed me some button. Now on this button, I want to write some text. How? Each button had a text, right? Something like this. If I remove this text, say if I yes, if I remove this text, then it will just look like this button. And this is what we are seeing here, right? Just a button. So you write into text and it will be visible. In a compose, how do you write a text? Using a text composable. Okay, so you write a text
Rajesh,
and
I can't see what you are presenting.
one second, please kindly like don't interrupt this way. It will really affect the flows. Just raise your hand and I'll get back to the question. So this is how you add a text to button. Okay, because to add a text, we know there is a text composable. So this is how you build your first composables. Okay, now I'll be answering questions. Whoever has it, please raise your hand. This will really help. Yes or then yes.
सर मैं पूछना चाह रहा था जैसे XML में हम लेआउट बिल्ड करते हैं तो वो बहुत ही इंस्टेंटली हमें उसके रिजल्ट मिल जाते हैं लेआउट वैलिडेशन में, पर बिल्ड में हमें जैसे बिल्ड करना पड़ता है तो ये मतलब रिसोर्स इंटेंसिव प्रोसेस है क्या जेटबैक कंपोज से यूआई बनाना?
नहीं, रिसोर्स इंटेंसिव उतना तो नहीं है, बट द थिंग्स इज कि ultimately both of these things use the same library. What was the name? Layout lib, I think. Yes, layout lib, I guess. I think, yeah, it does use this library called layout libs. It's included within the studio, but XML may it's visible because the framework knows about these things, and studio has a nice support for it. Compose में क्या है कि it's a library, okay? It's not a framework level code. It's just a library, okay? XML में you are not mentioning anywhere कि ठीक है, I'm using this library for adding my text views, okay? That's not the things. So framework knows about these things. Compose, it's a pure library, okay? So the Compose support is they are adding more and more supports, but for preview to render it for the first preview, probably you will need to build and refresh. So it's a Kotlin code, right? So it can just go through the code and see what's visible. So yes, in that sense, you can say ki seeing the preview in a Compose is sometimes it's a bit more work compared to XML. Not every time, but sometimes.
Okay, sir, fine.
Okay. Next one, Sam. Yes.
Okay, I had a question. My question is, for every function that you write, a composable function, must it have its equivalent preview function?
Usually you write a preview function for all the composables that you want to see its a UI. So for example, if I have some composable functions for which I don't want to see its UI, how does it looks like? Okay, then I can just keep writing the preview for it. But ideally for all the UIs, like UI components in Compose, we build the UI with components. Like one screen has a 5 component. Okay, so you should write up 5 preview functions for each of them, plus multiple variations of the preview for, let's say you want to conditionally show this to conditionally show 5. So accordingly, you can write a preview as well. Preview is just to help you, I mean, to how it looks like. Okay, it's not this code will has nothing to do with your application. It's just about how it looks like, so you can see directly in IDE. When you build an application, preview functions will be stripped out.
Okay, the reason as to why I asked you that is because I've been seeing other composable functions without a preview function down there, and it still works. So I think I've gotten it.
Yeah, it still works because preview is not necessary. Preview is just for you to see how it looks like. It's not mandatory.
Or
If
it's
you
not
want to,
mandatory for me to see in this section, the preview section. Yeah. Okay, I get it. It's okay.
okay, cool. So this is preview. So you may ask why to create a separate composable function. Can't I just add a preview to my original composable like this? So yes, you can do. You can see these things, but ideally you should avoid it because the preview function, as soon as your function start accepting the parameters, the preview won't be visible. For example, let's say start equal to integer. Preview is not applicable because preview will only be applicable to the composable functions having no parameters. And ideally in real world, your composable functions will have parameters. Okay, because you need to pass some data. So that's why it's a better choice to create a separate preview for composables. Sam, your hand is still up. You want to ask something or? Okay. So this is how you create these composable functions. Clear for everyone? How to do these things? How to build it? Any questions around this topic? Yeah, please feel free to ask because if you stuck somewhere, because it's a really important, and we will use Compose throughout the whole course. So it really it's really important to understand these things. Someone raised the hand. Who was that? Saurabh, yes.
Rajesh, like as you mentioned, let's say if my first composable has some parameter, so we'll have to pass the preview also that particular parameter, right? In that case.
Yes, say it has something like this, start equal to int. What you can do, your preview function does not need to have any parameters. You can just pass it here.
Okay.
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 This one.
Yeah, got it.
Cool. So moving on to next things, there is a whole lot of composable, but these are the few things: text fields and images. Let's say you want to add a edit text. How do you edit? Let's say in XML we call it edit text. In a Compose we call it a text field. Okay. What is this value and those things? Don't worry for now. But I'll just add it. I just want to show you something. Okay. As soon as I edit, you see this preview is visible. Hey, where is my button and where is my text? Let's see. Yeah, it's still there. But somehow this thing is overlapping on it, right? Somehow this text is overlapping on these buttons. For example, let's say I do something like this. Now it's visible. This button is visible. This thing is visible. Now if I change the order, what happens? Yeah, this button is visible. Let's make it green. Yeah, we still visible, right? So as we are changing the lines of the code, I mean arranging it ups and downs, it's changing the UI, right? Which should not be the case because let's say I want to keep it here. It should not change the UI. It should not be the things like this, but it's happening here. So how do we handle it? In XML, कैसे handle करते हैं? Pretty simple, using the view groups. right? Or layouts like these things like constraint layout, relative layout, and those things. To we use these things. So if you use a, let's say, linear layout, all of these things will be linearly. If you use a relative layout, all of these things will be relatives. So not a one-to-one mapping, but Compose has layout blocks for to tackle these things. Okay, these are the very essential building blocks of the Compose. These three things, the whole Compose is built on top of these three things: column, rows, and box. Okay, so we'll see how does it work. Okay, so when I say column, what do you understand in a physical world, in a real world? When I say, let's say, column, what do you understand with a column? Anyone? Columns and rows, right? We have columns and rows. Excel sheet तो सब किसी ने देखी ही होगी. Everyone must have seen the Excels. Yes, Arjun, yes.
Yeah, what is visible vertically?
Yeah, what is visible vertically? Similarly, for the row, what is visible horizontally?
Horizontal.
Yeah. So this is the same concept that Compose use. What is, if you want to stack your items vertically, you use a column. If you want to stack your items horizontally, you use a row. Okay, and there is this box. We'll discuss it later. These things, let's discuss it now. Columns and rows. What does it mean? Let's say I want to keep my text view here. And then I want to have a button here. And then finally, I want to have my text field here. I mean, in this position on the device. Okay. So the arrangement of these things is vertically, right? Arrangement of these things is vertically. There is a text view, below the text view, there is a button, and there is, after the button, there is a text field. So the arrangement is how it's a vertical. So when you want to arrange the items vertically, you use a column. Okay, what you do is you use a column. Let's create another composable functions. Let's call it column example. Okay, let's remove this modifier. We'll see it later. Now, what we want is, I'll just create another preview. One sec. Okay, I can just comment it out so you can see. Okay. So what I want a text, then button, and text field. So text, then button, and then text field. As of now, this text field is overlapping everything, right? So what I want these things in this hierarchy: text, button, and text field in a vertical manner. What I will use a composable called a column. Column is a composable function, a layout composable that places children in a vertical sequence. Okay. So what I will do, I will wrap all of my childs into this parent composable. And now you see everything is visible, right? So to lay out the items vertically, I mean, this is how it looks like. Okay. This is how it looks like, right? Text view, button, and text field. To arrange the items vertically, you need to use column and keep all of its child into this column composable. So your text is visible, your button is visible, and your text field is visible. Similarly, for the horizontal things, you use a row. So let's say, let's take a row example, and let's create a preview for that as well. Row example preview. And what we will do, let's say we want a text and a button. We want something like this. We want a text view, and in the horizontal manner, we want to have a button as well. Okay, so we'll just copy it and wrap them inside a row composable. This is how it looks like. See, it doesn't matter whether this is in a center or not. They are arranged in a horizontal position. Okay, text view is here, button is here, but they are arranged in a horizontal position. So to achieve the horizontal position, Compose has these things called a row. So these two are the fundamentals of the whole Compose UI. You will need this everywhere in all of the UI. These rows and columns. Okay, so this is a pretty basic things in a Compose. Okay, clear? Any questions on column or rows? Column is for vertical arrangement, rows is for horizontal arrangement. Okay, cool. Some of you knows Compose, so that's very nice. But those who don't know, please don't feel that, hey, nobody is asking the question, so whether should I ask or not, feel free to ask. Even the simplest questions will be answered. Okay, so this is how column works. Now let's do one thing. Let's expand our understanding of the column. Say we have three things. Now what I want is, let's say I have the full device screen. I have a full device screen. How do you achieve the full device in a preview? Uh, Let me just focus on a column for now. So I'll just comment it out. How do you use a show system UI parameter and pass it true? There you go. So what you are seeing is full device. How does it look on a full device? It doesn't look good, right? There is this text is here and these things here and text field is there. If you don't want to see these things, if you just want to show the background, you can select it and it will show this background, right? It will show this background. So I say show system UI and this will show me display. It has a camera here. Let me just change the device for now. And yes, by the way, you can change the device as well. So you can say devices dot on which device you want to see. Let's say we want to see on a Nexus 5. So it will show me on a Nexus. Okay. So this is how you can see these things on a Nexus or somewhere in, let's say, Pixel 4. I want to see on a Pixel 4. I can just select how it looks. Okay, Pixel 4. Okay. And okay, I think this display timing is visible, which is something I want to avoid. Keep it simple for you. And what about the Nexus? Nexus 5. It's still visible. Ticket. Pixel. Works. Okay. So now we'll see. Yes. Before we proceed, same as a question, it seems. Yes.
My question is, suppose I am using my mobile phone as the emitter. Can I be able to see like the way this preview has become? Button, text field, and the text.
So, okay, will the preview will be
No,
visible when?
not here. Not here. Like I mean on my phone.
On
Was
repo.
running the. Will it still
In second phone.
appear as it is here?
Is it me only missing the same questions or like?
This is
what?
not emulator, Sam, I think, right? This is just preview. For phone, you have to run the app.
Okay. I mean, my question is the way it has appeared here the preview. Suppose I run it using my phone. Will it still appear this way?
Yes. Okay, let me show you. So all the previews can be independently deployed to device. So which was not the case with the XML. So in XML, you must have to have activity to see the UI. But all of this preview, you see this button here, all of the previews can be independently deployed to the device. I'm just deploying these things on device, only these things, no activity at all. Okay, so let's see how it looks like. Gradle build is running and let it build. That will answer your questions. Key, this actually looks this way in a device. Give me a second. Launching on device. So yes, it looks the same way. Okay. This text view, this button, and this text field.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I have
Okay.
another question. Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. It's good. In our code here, and function row example, for the text, the first text, you see there is a text inside which says my first text in compose, and then going to the button, the text is button. Within this text of button, you have not declared like text, opening brackets, text is equivalent to button. Where is the difference coming in from? Like,
It
is
is the
there
same
different
thing.
types
I
of
have just
text?
not specify the parameter. It's the same thing. If I don't specify the parameter, that's fine. It's
So it's
just
okay
I'm
without
using.
specifying the parameter.
Yes.
I will always see that and it confuses me. Okay, it's good. It's good.
This text is a parameter name. So you pass. I usually prefer to pass a parameter name in a function calling. This is a Kotlin feature. You can pass a parameter name or not. If you want to pass, you can pass. Otherwise, you can just skip it. But
Okay, it's
okay.
cool. It's cool. It's cool.
Okay. Cool. I think that does answer both of your questions. Next one is Arjun. Yes.
So in text function, text and color is not like in order. So can we like that's a Kotlin thing? But yeah,
Yep.
actually,
Yep. Yep. So this is the feature in a Kotlin known as a named parameters. So if you
Mhm.
don't specify a parameter name, you need to send them in a order. See, now this will give me an error because the second argument it expect is a modifier, not the color. But if you use a named argument, you can specify them in any order. Okay, you just
Okay.
need to provide the name of that argument. And you can specify. I can just do these things. So this is the Kotlin feature known as a named argument, which Java is lacking.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, cool. So this is how it looks. Now let's expand our understanding of the columns. So what we want is for this UI, this is fine. Like it worked, right? It worked. But what if we want on this device? And now we'll play with some arrangements and those things. Now what we want is we want to we want to vertically arrange them in a such a way that something like this. Okay, we want to arrange them in a this way. This way. What we want is column has, this is the horizontal direction. This is a column, okay, not a row. And this is a vertical direction. This is a horizontal and this is a vertical direction. Now what you want is vertically you want to, let me group them if I can. Can we group them? Yes. Vertically you can either place them, let's say, at the top or at the center or at the bottom, at the top, at the center, or at the bottom. Let's say as of now, it's at the top, right? It's at the top. Why it's the top? Because the default value for vertical arrangement is arrangement dot top. I want to set the whole content in the center of the column. Okay. So what I will do, I will use a vertical arrangement and I will use arrangement dot center. What I will use arrangement dot center. Okay. Don't worry, I'm writing a modifier, but don't worry about this. I'm just writing it to, to make the whole thing sense. Yes. If I don't specify it, now this will be at the top here, vertically at the top. Now I want this, let's say this is my entire column. And basically that is what I'm achieving with these things. Modifier dot fill max size, but modifier is something we will discuss separately. Let's not focus on this now. Now I want to move this text into center of the column. So what I will do, I will use arrangement dot center. And if I want to move it vertically at the bottom, I will use arrangement dot bottom. So you see, it's vertically here. So vertical part is done. Now what remains? Horizontal part. So horizontally, it could be here, here, or here. Okay, here, here, or here. So basically, it's a 9x9 grid, right? Basically, it's a 9x9 grid. So your UI, both rows and columns, is divided into 9x9 grid, something like this. So you want to keep this here, 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 whatever. Let's say I want to keep this here. That means vertically center and horizontally at the end, right? Vertically center, and horizontally at the end. So what I will do, I will use a vertically to center, sorry, vertically to center and horizontal alignment equal to alignment dot center horizontally. Now this will go here. Okay, but yes, not the center. It should be end. Yes, end, right? So these things are here. These things are here. If I want to keep them in this block, that means vertically at the bottom, because this is the last block, and horizontally at the end. Okay, so vertically bottom, horizontally end. So it will in the 9 by 9 grid, it will go here. So this is how you can play with arrangements and alignments. Okay, arrangements, whatever, just to remember one thing, arrangement is in same direction of a parent layout. That means column is a parent is column, so column is a vertical layout, right? So arrangements will be vertical and alignments will be vice versa. So alignment will be horizontal. In case of a row, arrangement will be horizontal and alignment will be vertical. But this is how you can keep the things in a 9 by 9 grid. सेम गोज फॉर द रोज. ओके, रो के अगर 9 by 9 आप ग्रिड करोगे तो ऐसे दिखेंगे आपको. You will find something like this. Right? So if you see the row example, let's say उसका भी देख लेते हैं. We'll see the row example as well. I'll just create preview for the row as well. ठीक है, तो this is the column, this is the row. Okay. Now what I want is, let's say I want to keep these things here. That means row is a horizontal layout. So horizontal arrangement will be horizontal. Again, it will definitely take some time to remember and understand these things, but I'm just trying to make it as clear as possible. Arrangement will be horizontal and alignment will be vertical. So horizontally, it's at the starting point, right? In the horizontal grid, it's at the starting point. And in the vertical grid, it is at the end point. So how do we make sure? Let's say, let me give it a max size first. We'll see these things later. And horizontal arrangement. See, the parameter name is a horizontal arrangement. Here it was alignment. So arrangement dot, we want to keep it at the start. So we'll keep it at start. And vertical alignment will be alignment dot bottom. Alignment dot bottom. So you see things are here. Okay, there is only two things. So things are here. This is the whole rows and the things are here. Okay, if we want to keep them, say, the things here at the center, what I can do is I can keep them in the center. Say center, vertically center mean now it's vertically center plus vertical alignments will be center vertical. So they are in the center. Okay, they are into center. Everything into center this way. So this is how you arrange the items in a compose. Again, very important because rows and columns are the foundational building blocks in compose. So this is how you will build your UI. Itna clear? Any questions, any concern up to this point? Horizontal arrangements, alignments in rows and columns. Again, yeah, definitely it will take some time and some practice as well. But as of now, if you can always ask the questions later if you have, let's say, kal ke questions may you may ask ki, if I do this arrangement, how does it work? So yeah, that's fine. But today, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, so arrangement and alignments works this way in a compose. Okay, this is a column, this is a row. Another thing is known as a box. So what happens in a column? It's a vertical layout. Row is a horizontal layout. And what if you want something where items are neither vertical nor horizontal? What does it mean? Let's consider this UI. There is this image, and on top of the image there is a button, edit button. Okay, edit button is there, and this is your image. Now this UI is neither horizontal nor vertical. If it would be vertical, then this button would be here vertically, this way. If it would be horizontal, so we can use a row, but then this button should be here. Where this button is, it's on top of the image, on top of the image. So to build this stackable view, stackable means items are on top of each other. Okay, you can use these concepts called a box. You can use these concepts called a box. You want to have image, and then on top of the image you want to have a button or icons, whatever. Okay, let me show you the things with the box as well. Comp screen, box. What happens? Yes, box example. Okay, box example. What we'll do is we'll just have an image, and then on top of this image we will have an icon. So let's say I have an image, painter. Don't worry again about these things, painter and those things. We just want to use a painter resource, uh, R, where is my R this week? Yes, R dot trouble dot IZ launcher, and content description is a null. Say I want to have this image. Let's see कैसे दिखती है ये. Okay, box example preview and box example. So this looks something like this. Okay, if I just comment these two things. So this is how this box looks like. Okay, now what I want is on top of this image, I want to have a this what to say, icon or icon button. Okay, I can do one thing, I can wrap them in a box. So box is used to create a stackable UI. I mean, where you can keep the things on top of each other. Say I want to have an icon and image vector equal to icons dot default dot favorite or edit, whatever. Edit and content description is a null. So these things is here, right? It's on top of the image. Okay, neither vertically nor horizontally, on top of something. And again, you want to move these things. As of now, it's here in a 9x9 grid. You want to move it here, so vertically at the bottom, horizontally at the bottom, right? So how do you do their things? Horizontal, yeah, it's known as a one sec. This thing's called a content alignment. Yes, in a box there is one parameter called content alignment, and using these single parameters you can move the items here and there. There is not separate parameters for both vertical and horizontal alignment, because this value will be 9 value. You see, this is a 9 value. So as of now it's in the bottom end. Okay, bottom end. So I'll just use the bottom end, and there you go. Okay, this is how it makes sense. So box के लिए there are no separate arrangements and alignments in a horizontal and vertical manner, because it's not this type of layout. Box is a stackable. So there is one parameter called content alignment, and it can have one of the 9 possible values. Okay, start, top, top start, top center, and top end, and center start, center and center end, and then bottom start, bottom center, and bottom end. Okay, so we kept it bottom end. That is this the last part, this one. So box is useful for creating a stackable images. Okay, any questions, Sam? Yes.
I wanted to know this content description. Can you give it a content description so that I can see its value?
What do you want to know about content description?
Like you can, instead of giving it null, give it a description so that I can see its use case.
You want to hear the use case of this?
the use case of content descriptions,
Okay,
like
so
give it a value, not null. How is it useful? You understand?
so content description is mainly used for the tools like a screen readers. For example, let's say there are some blind people or some people who cannot properly see the things, right? So Android does have this screen readers in the accessibility. If you go into the settings and accessibility, so different Android provides different accessibility options. Somewhere I think I need to find uh, accessibility. Yes, so you can enable the accessibility and you can have talkbacks. Yes, so what it does, it talks about the items which are on the screen. Let's say if I'm blind, okay, I won't be able to see what this image contains because I'm a blind, right? So content description are the description for the system tools so they can read it out. Let's say I'm loading a user profile, so I can write something like a profile of the currently logged in user. Okay. So when the system tool goes through this image and user says what it is, the system's tools can understand what is the purpose of this image. It's a profile of a currently logged in user. So these content descriptions are mainly for those tools. Okay.
Okay, I think I get it. Like the ones that are used in Braille. Have you ever seen the ones that are used in Braille?
Braille Lipi, you talking about that thing?
Anyway, I've understood. Can go on.
Okay. So this is for system tools, mainly for system tools. So basically you describe to system what this element is about. This is image or icons or icon button, whatever. You specify key what this actually represent. For example, you can see something like this. You can say edit icon. Okay. So what it is? It's an edit icon. Without you specifying it, system will not understand key what these things is. Okay. So box is for stackable UI. All clear? I think so. We can take a short break now before we go for the modifiers. Any questions up to this point on the rows, columns, and box, on the arrangements and alignments? Okay, sounds cool. I think let's take a short break and we will be back. It's a 10:20, so we'll be back by 10:30 and then we will continue with the modifiers. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Available, right? Box are available. Okay, ठीक है. तो क्या देखा था? Box example is something we have seen, and yeah, this is arrangements and alignments. Definitely, you need to play with these things after the session ends. Okay, just give it a try. And the next thing is modifiers. So what are modifiers? Modifiers are basically the decorators. So before we understand it, let me do one thing. Let me first of all, let me just have the preview just below the composable so you can have an idea. This is a column example, and this is a row example. And sorry, and this is a box example. Okay, nice. Okay, now we'll create another composable called modifier example. Okay, and another preview called modifier example preview, blah blah blah. Okay, so what are modifiers? Modifiers are basically the decorators. Decorators means you created a composable. You created a composable. Now, how will you decorate them? Decorate terms can have many meanings. For example, you want to change the composable size. You want to change its colors. You want to change its shape. Okay. You want to add some accessibility label, or you want to add some dragging and as well as the zooming. So those things you want to do. Basically, you want to add decoration plus interactivity to your composable. Okay. Decoration plus interactivity. So that things can be achieved using the modifiers. So let's say, let me just remove this. Okay. And let's say we have a text and button, something like this text and button in a column, say something like uh, this, or even if not the text and columns, let's start with the box. Okay. So let's say I have a box. So the box is a render. Now, if you see, all of the composable function takes the modifier as a parameter because these functions allows you to decorate them as you wish. The box takes the modifier. Okay. The column and rows takes the modifier. So almost all of the composable function takes the modifier. Okay. Now let's say we want to pass a modifier to this box. What we want, our requirement is a create a 50 by 50 box and then sorry, add a red background color to the box. Add a red background colors, and then finally we want to add or blue, let's say blue border around this box. Okay, we want to add a blue border. What we will do is we want to create a box of this type. Now this is a decoration, adding a background color, adding a border, and setting a size. So this type of a decoration can be achieved using the modifier, and all of the composable functions takes the modifier. So what I can do, I can use a modifier dot. I want to specify the size. Okay, so I can specify the size equal to 15 dp. So I can just write a 15 and I can then add this extension variable called dp. So you see 15 dp box is created. If I remove these things, no box. Now the size is a 15 dp. Okay. Now what I want to add a background color. I want to add a background color. Which color? Color dot, sorry, color dot red. You see, red color is there. Okay. So what I did, I created a two modifiers and I am adding it one by one. So these things is known as a modifier chaining. I am chaining one modifier after another. Okay. Chain, you know, right? like you have this chain. This is a one element, this is second element, this is third element. So what you do is you simply combine these things. So this is known as a chaining, right? This is known as a chaining of the items. So this is known as a modifier chaining. You are adding one modifier after another. And finally, you want to add a border modifier. All of these functions, see, I'll show you. Let's say border ki width ho gayi 1 dp and color would be blue. So you see, width is a 1, color is a blue. Let's say if I change the width to 5, now I will see the 5 dp border and then 50 dp box. Okay, then this color. All of these functions returns a modifier itself. Okay, all of these functions returns a modifier. Okay, so modifier is what? It's a interface, and this modifier is a standard Kotlin object. Okay, all of these modifier functions return a modifier itself. That's why we are able to chain these modifiers. Okay, between this box, I want to add a text, say something like text equal to hello. Text is like this. Okay, now what I want is box has alignments, like I know, right? Box has a content alignment, something like this, and I can use a content alignment dot alignment dot center, something like this. This can be achieved. But what if I don't want to, because see, this will apply to all of these items. Let's say, let's make it 100 dp and make it more visible. And let's say hello world. Now, both of these things are aligned at the center because this applies to all the child of this box. This alignment applies to all these childs of this box. Similarly, these arrangements and alignments apply to all the childs of this row. What if I want to keep this into center, but this into end? Okay, I want, or let's say I want to keep hello here and world here, or say everything in like this, hello from Rajesh. Okay, I want to keep the hello here, from here, and Rajesh here. So what I can do, again, decoration. So modifier. Okay, text takes a modifier parameter. So I can use a modifier. Where it is modifier dot align. I can align somewhere where I want to align. I want to use alignment dot top center. Top center. So this will only applies to this child. Okay, this will only applies to this child. I want to keep this into center. So I will mark this as a center. Modifier dot bot or a center. Matlab center center. And then this is third thing, which I want to keep at the bottom center. So I will use bottom center. So ye ho gaya, right? Hello from and Rajesh. So it's a spanning across these things. Basically, it's not visible because that part is covered by the border. Okay, so this is how it looks like. If I remove the border, you see it's still visible. If I add, this border will overlap on these things. Okay, this is how UI looks. This Rajesh is still there, but it's overlapped by border. Okay, this is how it looks like. This is known as a modifiers. Okay, this is known as a modifiers. Plus, you can let's say let's deploy this on a device. Let's deploy this on a device. I want to show you something. What happened? Okay, this is a box, right? Now you see these are the text elements. Text are not clickable, right? Text are not clickable. Buttons are by default clickable, but text are not. You can make any composable clickable using the clickable modifier. Let's say I want to click this. I want to make this from a clickable. As of now, see, it's not clickable, right? But I can use clickable modifier and then I can make any composable as clickable. Let me run this again. And now from should be clickable. Only this text should be clickable. Let me show you. You see, it's now clickable. Make sense for everyone? What's happening here? I can make any composable clickable using the clickable modifier. Okay. And in the clickable lambda, you need to pass what you want to do. For example, let's say I want to create a toast. I want to create a toast, and don't worry about these things. But yes, just give me a sec. I want to say context, and you have clicked on from. Okay, I run these things, and this toast should be up here. Let's run this, and when I click on this, it should be visible here. You see, you have clicked on from. Okay, so this is how it works. This is how it looks like, and this is how it works. Modifier allows you to add a decoration as well as interactivity to anything. You can add a clickable, you can add a long click, you can use a dragging, you can use any sort of things basically using the modifiers. Okay, so modifiers are useful for this. Size means height by height and width. If you want to specify these two things separately, let's say not the size, and if you want to set the height to say 150 dp and width to 100 dp, you can specify that as well, like this. Okay, height 150 with 100 dp. So this is something you can do, and you can see a whole lot of modifier backgrounds and absolute size and animates and blurs and borders and blah 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 and whatnot. Okay. So this is how modifier works. And yeah, you can give them any shape as well. You can give them any shape as well. For example, let's say मैं इसको just be comment out कर देता हूँ. What I do is I want to create a circle. I want to create a circle box of a 50 by 50 dp. Okay, so I could just let's say reuse these things, something like this. I can just reuse it. Give me a second. And this and this, I want to use something like this, and text equal to, let's say, circle. Okay, what I want is I want to make this thing a box, a circle. Okay, so if you use the XML, it's a difficult, right, to build out any UI. I mean, make, because in the past what happens is people used to have one library, dedicated library. I forgot the library name, but people use the dedicated library to show the image into circular view. In a compose, it's as easy as using the clip modifier. Okay, using the clip takes a shape, so it could be any shape. It should be, it could be a rounded corner shape. For example, rounded corner shape which is rounded by 16 dp each corner. You see, your box is a now rounded corner. Make sense? Let's say you want to use a circle shape, okay, not the rounded shape. So you can use circle shapes, and there you go. This is your box. Okay, now this border is not aligning to the shape. This border and the background is not aligning to the shape. So you see, even the background takes a shape. So I can just pass this shape to background. So my red circle, red background is now circle. And even for the border, I can just pass the shape. There you go. Make sense? This is your two circles. Even your border is circular and your background is a circular. Oh yeah, thanks. So shape is something. See, this shape is what? It's a rounded corner shape with a 50 size, the rounded corner shape, and all the shapes basically they implement this shape interface. Okay. So shape, you can make anything. You can provide this clip to any composable. Okay. So this is how it looks in a compose. You can use a modifiers. It may feels like overwhelming, but as you practice, these things are really simple. When I started the compose, even I thought ki, yeah, it's too difficult and dropped it multiple times. But I decided, okay, let's go with it. And then, and it's like, as of now, I built all the UIs in a compose only. Even if Like I only use XML if there is some legacy components and it is not feasible or it is not fruitful to convert it into Compose. If it is, what I will do, I will first convert it into Compose, then add the features that my manager is asking. But only if it's not feasible or it takes like, I mean, it does not provide the correct ROI, then only I will go with XML. So it once you practice it, it's really easy and really simple to imagine the UI with a Compose. Okay, before proceeding ahead, I'll take the questions. Ashwini, yes.
Rajesh, we have wrap content and fill parent in XML, right? We used to use that. But
Yes, wrap
here in
content.
Compose,
Yes.
uh,
So
but-
that things, for that things, in a Compose, if you do not specify any size, the default behavior is a wrap content. Okay, if you do not specify anything, the default behavior is a wrap content. If you want to specify this parent size, then you have different modifiers like fill max width, fill max height, or fill max size. So this modifier will help. Fill max size means fill parent. In XML, we have these things, parent, match parent, right? So this fill max size is equivalent to match parent. So these are the modifiers you can do. If you just want to match the width of the parent, use a fill max width. Just height of the parent, use fill max height. And if you want to match both max size, height, and width, go with a full max fill max size. Okay,
okay.
cool. So, any questions on these things, modifiers? Saurabh, yes.
Just for the scroll view, like how we will do that scrolling part.
Scrolling is something we'll cover later using there is something involved called a stat. So we'll see when we first understand the stat, then we'll see that thing. Okay, cool. Because you need to know the stats about these things. Okay, any more questions on this UI part? One major things you need to remember about the modifier is the order of the modifier really matters. You specify the background first and border second, and you specify the border second and first and background matter is not the same things. Let me show you. This is how it looks. Let me do these things. Sorry, this one. You see something like this. Now these two things are different. Okay, these two things are different. Why it's not visible? Because it's created in such a way. Okay, I just wanted to tell you. Let me show you the difference as well. Okay, let me take another example. Let's hide this. Now we understood the clip, so I think we can just move it. And these things as well. Not this one. And not this one as well. And let's call it a box. Okay. Now what you want is, there is this background. I'll try to show you theoretically. There is this background. We have this background of a size 100 by 100. Okay, 100 by 100. We have filled it with a red color. Okay, the whole box is filled with a red color. Let's say I remove this. The whole box is filled with a red color. Now what I want? Within this box, I want to create another box, okay, whose size I don't want to specify, but I want to add a padding of 8 dp around each corner. In XML, we have a two concept, padding and a margin. In a Compose, there is only padding, which will achieve both of this functionality, padding as well as a margin. Okay, so we want to add a padding of say 8 dp, and then we want to create another box and we'll fill it with a green color. Okay, so how do we do that? Let's say I create another box. Okay. And I do something like this. Sorry. I do something like this, text equal to box. Now this box is visible, and let's say I fill it with a green color. Okay, something like, let's say I not specify the size and fill it with a green color. Now this box is visible, right? As I mentioned, what happens is by default behavior is wrapping the content size. I want this box to take the full size as this box has. So what I will use? I will use fill max size. I will use fill max size, and then I will add a background. Now this is how it looks like. What it did, it filled all the size that the box has, and then it filled with the green color. So your red color is gone. If you don't fill it, then red color will be visible because it's there. But this box still took the whole size. Okay, this box still took the whole size. Now what do we want? We want inside this box, we want 8 dp of padding, and then after whatever the space is available, we want to give to this box. What I will do, after filling the size, we'll fill it, and then we will add a padding, 8 dp of the padding. Okay, so you see this 8 dp where red color is visible. So red color is applied to whole box, okay, or to the size of the 100 by 100 dp. Then we added a 8 dp padding. So that means nobody will use this space. After that, whatever the space is available, I am using this. I am using this box, and it will take whatever the space is available, and it will have this green color. Okay, and then I can use a content alignments. Of course, you know the alignments. Dot center. Now this one alignment. Where is alignment, man? Dot center. Yes. So now it's in center, right? So now what I want is, let's say after this padding, I want to add a border. Border of say 2 dp. Color would be color dot dark gray. Yeah. So this is visible, right? This border is visible. You see, after the background color, we added a padding, and after the padding, this we added this border. Okay, this is how it looks like. What if I move this border here? Complete different UI, right? Now the border will start from these things, and after the 2 dp of the border, a padding of the 8 dp will apply, and then this box calculation will start. So order of the modifier really matters. Make sense? I think it's clear, right? Order of the modifier really matters. In which order you specify your modifier is matters. Okay, so you need to be sure how to place these things. And again, as you practice, you will learn to understand how to use this properly. Okay, so this is the one thing you should know. So this way you can play with these things. Let's say I want to change the alpha of this box after adding the green color. I want to change, let's say alpha to half. That is 0.5. Alpha means transparency. You see, this applies to the content of this box. Okay, so if I applies the alpha here, something like this, you see the green color is of the half transparency only. So there is a whole lot of modifiers you can play with, clips and heights and widths and backgrounds and blah 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 and blur and whatnot, clickable, animation, combine, compose. So काफी सारे हैं dragables and those things. So you can read more on that as well. But and we will use more and more modifiers as we progress. But modifier means decorators, as well as they allows you to add the interactivity as well. And order of the modifier really matters. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Any concern up to this point? Modifier all clear? ठीक है. Tarun and done. What remains recomposition and states, but I think this will be too much for today if I cover today. So let's do some light talks, because if I cover this all this learnings today, now you will be like, I'm going to sleep. I'm not watching these sessions. Otherwise, it will be too much. आज के लिए I think इतना काफी है. So what we have seen is rows, columns, box, arrangements, alignments, and the modifiers. Okay, any questions, anything you want me to cover today on a lighter note, which something that do not force you to sleep? Yes, I'm ready to questions. The first one is coming from the Arjun. Yes.
You said like compose a compiler backstory. You're supposed to tell us.
Oh, yes. You are good at remembering, man.
Thanks.
Okay, cool. So, historically, what used to happen is when they launched the Compose, they created this compiler plugin. Before I explain the Compose things, I asked the questions. Anyone knows the Kotlin compiler plugin? So I think nobody said yes, right? So compiler plugins are really powerful mechanism in a Kotlin that allows you to directly hook into the compiler process. Okay, so you can basically write a code that write another code itself. You can think about this. You can write a code that write another code itself. Okay, that is how powerful the plugins are, compiler plugins. Okay, annotation processes can do that as well, but they can only generate the code. They cannot modify the existing code. So the compiler plugins allows you to do that things as well. And when we had a session in the Pune, I took sorry, we had a meetup. I don't know if anyone of you knows about these things, but I think 2-3 months back we had a physical meetup in the Pune. And yes, by the way, good things is we are planning it again. So at that time I took these sessions called the compiler plugins. I shared the examples, what you can build with the plugins. We built one thing as well. So to put it simply, compiler plugins are a really powerful mechanism. They allows you to do a lot more things. So this Compose team use this compiler plugin, and it will intercept all of these functions where these composable annotations are there, and it will generate some special kind of a code. Okay. So this used to be a Kotlin compiler plugin. So it was something like this. Let's say you have Compose UI and Compose UI and UI toolings and UIs and material libraries. So similarly, we used to define the compiler as a library plugin. Okay. Now the things was this compiler plugin was tightly attached to the Kotlin compiler version. So Sam, can you please go on a mute, man? Okay. So this compiler plugin, Compose compiler plugin, was tightly attached to the Kotlin compiler. So whenever they release a new Kotlin version, Compose team had to release a new compiler version as well, even if there is no change, because it was tightly coupled. So let's say for Kotlin 1.8.0, there is a plugin. Kotlin 1.9.0, there is a compiler plugin. This sort of things. Now, Compose started getting a popularity, and the JetBrains is working on CMP. Okay, that stands for Compose Multi-Platform. What does it mean? Compose is no longer limited to Android. You can use Compose to build UI for a desktop, Android, and iOS as well, just like you can do with the Flutter and React Native, right? So Compose is a things that you can use to build a UI for the desktops, build the UI for the Android, and build the UI for iOS as well. It's not perfectly fine. I mean, it's not up to that level of Flutters and RN, but it can it can do the job. Okay, and it's still evolving. I am having very high hopes from the multi-platform. Okay, So the Compose is a famous. So JetBrains, that is JB, a very good partner of the Google, and JB is, by the way, builds this IntelliJ, right? IntelliJ IDEA, on which Android Studio is built. If you see this Android Studio is a built on and on a JB. Okay, it's entirely built on the community versions of the IntelliJ IDEA. एंड्रॉइड स्टूडियो कुछ नया नहीं है, इसके ऊपर मेकअप डाल दिया है, ठीक है. आई मीन देयर इज अ होल लॉट ऑफ एंड्रॉइड स्पेसिफिक थिंग्स एज वेल, बट जो कोर पार्ट होता है एडिटर का और आईडी का, द कोर लॉजिक दैट इज ऑफ अ इंटेलिजेंट. So JetBrains created these multi-platforms, and what they decided कि Compose is very famous, right? So instead of the Google will releasing it, Compose is, see what how important this change is. Compose is now part of a Kotlin release. Okay, Compose is not part of no longer part of the Compose library from the Google. Okay, it's now a part of a Kotlin. See, I'll tell you, this is a Kotlin repo. Okay, you go to the plugins, you go to these plugins, and Compose compiler plugin is right here in a Kotlin. This is very big change, because a language will never allow anything that is very, very important to stay in their repo. Okay, so now you can understand how important the Compose is for Kotlin. Okay, so this Compose compiler plugin is now part of a Kotlin. So whenever there is a new Kotlin release, you do not, Compose team does not need to create another release. I mean, it's a part of the Kotlin repo. So you can, and even the namespace is changed. Earlier it was something like a Android X.compose compiler. Now it's a move to the JB, right? JetBrains. So the namespace is changed as well. And there will be so you don't need to maintain this thing separately. You can be sure that whenever there is a Kotlin release, Compose compiler will be released as well, and which will be automatically fetched because it will have the same version as a Kotlin. So this is a bit backstory. Earlier we used to have a separate compiler, but now Compose compiler is a part of the Kotlin release process. Okay, because they are pushing more and more on multi-platform. That is one thing is a KMM, right? Kotlin multi-platform. So Kotlin multi-platform is for building the business logic across the multi-platform. To build the UI across multi-platform, you have the CMP or Compose multi-platform. Again, both are from the Kotlin team. Okay, any questions around this point? So this is how these things works. And I think, yes, the rest of the things we have already covered. This week 3, these toolings and previews. Yes, this preview is a dependency. See, you are able to see this preview. Kahan gaya? Yeah, this preview, because it's coming from the tooling preview. If you remove this dependency UI tooling preview, then your previews are gone. Okay, so that's why Studio includes it by default for you. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Any questions? Yes, Sam. Sam, you can ask your question.
Hello. Okay. Now I was to present to you something based on these dependencies, right? Less than 2 minutes.
Yes, this is dependency.
Okay, so let me present here. Can you see my screen?
No. Can you zoom in?
You want me to? Okay. So can you see my screen?
Someone said the zoom in we met. Okay.
The same problem that you're having is the same one that I'm having. So for me to zoom in, I go to code or navigate.
No. It's fine for me. It's fine for me. That was just a joke from someone else.
You're kidding. Okay, so for me, this is the I was trying to do some navigation here. So my question is, when you look at my Gradle file, you can see like this is navigation. I declare the navigation right from
Your
when the
Gradle file is
navigation.
not visible. Okay.
What about right now?
Yeah, okay. It's visible now.
It's this like this one value version is from let me Google something.
Okay, it's visible now.
Let it open. So you see, like for my navigation, I've gotten the dependency from Google Developers Docs, and then I've come and implanted it right here, like the way nav version. And then here, these are the ones here. But when it comes to your code, I can see that you have a TOML file that you encrypted that information, then you've come and called it back there. Why? Me, I'm used to this one. Like you can explain it more from your end. I don't
So
know now if you've gotten my question.
you meant to say you
gotten
have dependencies like this, and I have dependencies like some in some other pattern, like in the implementation and just names.
Okay, like me, I'm used to this one. That one which you are using is
Did
somehow
you mean
confusing to
like
me.
this? I have dependencies in this way format.
So my question is,
Hmm.
my question is, how have you implemented this one? I've never seen such a kind of an implementation.
Your question is why this looks like something like this on my screen.
Like you have another version. You understand? I've never
So
that
this
kind of.
is because we are using Gradle version catalog. This is something we discussed in the first week, I think itself. So there is this thing called a Gradle version catalog. This file is inside here. The dependencies are declared here, and we are referring it here.
In the TOML file.
Yes.
But even if maybe you had given someone a project, then I did it this one, there's no problem.
So what is the problem?
Okay, my question is it acceptable even maybe if I did it in this manner and you did it in your other manner and the program run?
Yes, it will run. It doesn't matter in what way you specify the dependency. The things is dependency should be there. These are just a different ways to declare them. The program will run. I will accept the assignments. You will make the money if it works. So everything is fine. It doesn't matter how you declare the dependencies. If you are comfortable, you go with the version catalog. If not, just go with your existing setup that you have. Both of them are fine.
Okay. And then as you can see here in my build features, we have the data binding set to true. But since we are using Compose, you can see my screen.
No.
You cannot.
You need to share it again because I have started sharing it.
Okay. Like you can see here in my screen. Can you now see it?
I guess not.
Can you see it?
Still not loading for me.
A minute.
Maybe connectivity issue.
Probably.
Okay. Your web UI is visible, but you stopped it again.
I had to restart it. Can you now see
so
it?
yes, I can see.
You see, my question was, since we are using Composer, and for me here in Kenya, most of the companies use data binding, so I'm forced to know data binding by force by fire. Let's assume now I'm using data binding and I'm using Compose as well. Will I have to build features data binding true? Then I come and add here Compose true.
Yes, you can do that.
Is it acceptable that way? You have like two different ways.
Yes, Compose is a different way of building. You can have mix of XML and Compose in a single project, and that's totally fine. These things are interoperable.
Okay, my question was like will features will it accept to carry both data binding and compose?
Yes, 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 both. If you want to use whatever, basically to keep it simple, whatever you want to use, make it true. You want to use data binding, make it true. You want to use Compose, make it true. If you want to use both, make both of them true.
Okay. Here is a section of some fragments and
Okay.
to
I
some
think that
stuff. Okay,
problems can be, that data binding problems can be, maybe you can ask later, not within the session,
okay,
because
I'm
it
good.
some big. Cool. I think that answer your questions. Any more questions? Anyone on Compose, on today's sessions, or anything in general? No, I can see thumbs from Arjun. Okay, so I think then we are good to wind up the sessions, and in Wednesday we'll discuss the recomposition stats and mutable stats, and remember API probably. Okay, so would be good to see these things. And one thing is, again, I'll just recommend everyone to just go and fill out the forms. I really want to understand how your experience was, so it will help me to improve as well. So link is in the description. Sorry, I have sent the link in a group. Just make sure you just take 2 minutes and fill it out. And please avoid using Chat GPT. I don't like reading the GPT generated responses. Someone wrote the GPT generated response, and I was like, यार इससे तो रहने देते या फिर छोटा लिख देते. Unnecessary noise in the false statements. I mean, no offense to anyone, but I personally prefer the human responses. I don't care about your grammar mistakes and anything else. But GPT is something I don't prefer. Matlab, you can take a help from GPT, even I take, but make sure कि some of those words are of your own. Otherwise वो लिंक्डइन पे आता है ना, वो रॉकेट वाले इमेजेस एंड लेट्स गो, एंड तो अभी इरिटेट होने लगा है देख देख के. तो दैट्स व्हाई. ठीक है. तो make sure you fill out the feedback form. That is a request, and we'll cover the remaining part on the Wednesday. Thank you everyone. Have a good night. Take care and bye bye.